I want to make a video about a comment on my Friends with Benefits video from yesterday, where Wayne, hi Wayne, said that sometimes feelings develop when you're having sex repeatedly with someone. And yes, that is true. Yes, that is true for sure. I remember years ago, this guy I really liked having sex with stopped seeing me because he said he was starting to have feelings. And so told me that he couldn't see me anymore. And yes, so that is a real thing. And I want to say, what is wrong with having feelings for people? Let's talk about feelings for a moment, okay? Because feelings seem to be a bigger taboo than having sex. People are afraid of, well, let me make it personal. This is a thing I'm working on in myself right now, is, well, two things, like I said in the video, is no judgment around my sexuality and no judgment around my feelings. And feelings are a scary area for people because many of us, myself included, had a vacuum around feelings growing up. So we don't have the skill set or the comfort with having feelings or showing feelings or navigating feelings. So my experience of feelings, I'm sharing this, maybe you can relate, is that they were either a sign of weakness, they were a burden that would make people reject me, my parents, um, and they were uncomfortable, deeply uncomfortable and painful and excruciating, like, because I didn't have a skill set. I didn't have anyone to talk to about them because, again, my feelings were a sign of weakness. They would get me ridiculed and rejected. And so I learned to just either shut them off or just manage them by myself, which meant just being in this painful state where they just kept staying and staying and staying. Because, see, feelings are actually temporary states. They don't last very long. A lot of feelings just last a few seconds, some last a few minutes. If you're going through something really difficult, they can last longer. However, once you know what feelings really are and become comfortable with them and learn how to comfort yourself, they're really not that scary. All right, so I'm working with a coach right now. I'm working with Catherine Daniele. She's very expensive. I'm going to tell you guys, I paid $3,000 for 6 weeks. Okay. And just as a side note, I asked her about where she got her more specific training on the coaching, and it's Terry Real and Pia Melody. So I'm right now doing the online class. I've read Terry Real's book on marriage. I really liked it. It's super good. He has a very different approach to therapy. He does things very different than trained therapists do. And I liked his book a lot. And I was thinking of doing one of his online courses. I actually signed up for Relational Life Therapy Level 1. So there's a lot of like inner child work and where you can soothe your own emotions. First of all, to not judge your emotions. Second is to know how to soothe yourself. So for example, I'm just going to tell you like what I learned in my last coaching session. And then this video is specifically about your fear of getting attached or getting attached to someone that you're fucking. So if you're getting attached or you're feeling abandoned in your relationship, like the problem with getting attached is only if you feel neglected or abandoned, but only children can be abandoned. Adults cannot be abandoned. So it's learning how to soothe yourself. I'll go into more aspects of the Friends with Benefits, but let's talk about soothing yourself and being intimate with yourself. So notice if you're feeling abandoned. Let's talk about feeling abandoned. Like, I want to see this person. I can't see this person. I feel lonely. I feel abandoned. I feel sad. I feel dismissed. I feel rejected, whatever it is. And notice what you're feeling and then learn how to self-soothe. We all have to learn how to self-soothe. That's the first step, self-soothing. How do you self-soothe? Okay, so you take some deep breaths, you get into your body. A lot of this stuff is just being in our heads, like, oh my God, I'm abandoned, or I'm lonely. You have this story, right? So get into your body, soothe yourself. Take some deep breaths. Take some deep breaths. The next thing, you can put your hand on your heart. Just put your hand on your heart. Put your hand on your heart. Because you will never abandon yourself. You cannot be abandoned unless you abandon yourself. See, kids can be abandoned, but not adults. You're not going to abandon yourself. I'm going to show you how. You take some deep breaths, you put your hand on your heart, and if you want, you can wrap a blanket tightly around you, like swaddle yourself. And now you're going to be a parent to that little inner child. So when you're feeling abandoned, how old are you? How old do you feel right now when you're feeling lonely or abandoned? Okay, 3, 5, 6, whatever it is. Speak, like, how would you speak to a little child, a 3-year-old child that feels lonely or abandoned? And talk to yourself. Be that parent. Talk to yourself, to your inner child. And here are some examples. I'm here for you. We're in this together. I love you. You're safe. And just trust yourself that you'll be moved to say the right things and to hear what you need to say. Or something like, I'm here and I'm paying attention. I care about your feelings. I care about you. I will never leave you. I'm here for you. All right, that's one technique of being intimate with yourself. The other thing too is that vulnerability isn't saying everything to everyone. Vulnerability requires containment. It requires openness and containment. So it's really important to just be around people who care how we feel. So if you're choosing a friends with benefits, this is why I'm being really careful with my friends with benefits. I want to be with someone who I can say I felt really cared about. And that he's going to be like, I'm so glad you told me that, and really mean it. Like, I'm looking for men who have emotional health and ability to care about me so that I don't have to be afraid of also sharing what I'm feeling. Because, see, sharing my feelings is a lot scarier than sharing my body. And I want to be with people where I can share my feelings. I want to practice these things with guys that I'm fucking. So I don't see how I would feel abandoned or neglected if I can soothe myself and be with people where I can share my feelings. So all along, when you're choosing your friends, from the very beginning when you're choosing your friends, and if you haven't done already, you can start now, is just start saying things to your male and female friends, like, I really enjoy your company. I feel so seen by you. Say that to your same-sex friends. Start talking that way. I told my coach, I can't possibly talk this way. I can't possibly say this. And she said, why can't you? Why not? I said, well, because they'll think I'm weird. They'll abandon me. They'll reject me. They'll think I'm too much. They won't want it. Oh, I don't remember what she said, but I realized it was just all my own story. So I just started forcing myself to say it the last few days, and no one's abandoned me. No one's rejected me. No one told me I was weird. They're all like, thank you. So I'm just going to keep doing it. It's just a whole new muscle that we have to develop as to become emotionally a little more vulnerable. Being vulnerable doesn't mean saying, I like you. I'll give you some examples. It doesn't mean just saying on a date with someone, I like you. It looks like this. I am so moved and inspired by your story. I feel so good on this date with you. I felt so cared for when you researched all the restaurants and chose this one. Or, I'm really nervous to tell you what I'm thinking and feeling. I want to tell you though because I want you to know me. I'm so curious about what works for me. Okay? So that's vulnerability. And that's vulnerability because in vulnerability, we risk rejection. If you're not risking rejection, you're not being vulnerable. So my tip is to only have friends or friends with benefits where you can be vulnerable, because that's going to weed out the people who are going to hurt you. I think that by being vulnerable, I'm actually safer. That's what I want to say. In being vulnerable, I'm actually safer, because when I'm vulnerable with someone and they gloss over it, or they're afraid of it, or they don't appreciate it, that's not a person I want to have as a friend or a friend with benefits. So what is the problem with having feelings for people? I think especially men are no longer shamed for having feelings as much as they used to be, but they used to be. So, like, how many guys, when they get together with their friends, are not talking about their feelings? They're just talking about sports, or they're teasing each other, or they're talking about work or sports or shooting the breeze. That's leaving your humanity behind. Emotions are not a feminine quality, they're a human quality. So, what's wrong with having feelings for friends with benefits? You're supposed to, that's healthy. I don't have feelings for my friends with benefits. Maybe I will develop them more over time. I'm okay with that. What's wrong with that? My problem in the past with getting attached to guys I hooked up with, what came out of I'm not sure. I think it was a combination of I abandoned myself, guys. I abandoned myself, and I looked for something from them. I didn't know how to deal with my feelings. I wanted affection from them that I wasn't giving to myself. Um, I was with people who traumatized me, because I think I traumatized myself by looking for them to reciprocate when they were never capable in the first place. I got attached to people that I shouldn't have got attached to. They should have never been, I should never hooked up with those people, or maybe I was in too vulnerable of a place. See, now what I would do, say I had a friends with benefits I got attached to, and I asked him to come over and he wouldn't reply to me, I would just be like, you know what? I'm not friends with people who ignore me, so that's it. I would just be done. I was in a place where yeah, that's what it was for me now, guys. I remember I was at that time in my life still going after men that I pursued. I was still in that time in my life chasing men and longing for men who didn't want me. I was in that unhealthy place of longing for people who didn't want me. And now that people who ignore me are no longer attractive to me, I no longer go with men where I'm like, oh, this guy doesn't like me, but I can get him to like me. I'm no longer doing that. I'm legitimately just looking for people who are responsive to me and who like me. And if they don't, I don't want them. I don't want people like that. So I'm in a much better place. And so that's why I'm okay with doing this again. Another tip for dealing with feelings is to feel them in your body, and then you do one of two techniques. Either you completely feel them in your body and be willing to let them go and replace them with light, or you feel it in your body and you mentally go inside of that feeling. Those are energetic trauma release techniques that I use with people. So you can use that. You can use the inner child work of reparenting yourself, or soothing and calming yourself. And then also like having some standards and boundaries. Like, am I okay with this? Like, am I okay being around people who treat me this way? And I think a really good way to practice is to start practicing with everyone that's in your life now, so that when you're in like a relationship situation, if someone doesn't treat you that way, you can be like, huh, that just doesn't feel good because now I'm used to this level of treatment. But I think it has to start with us. And I want to leave you with one thing. I was looking at my coach's Facebook post this morning in her group, Sisters of the Heart. And her post there is about posting something on your Facebook every day that makes you happy. And she reminded me also last time about gratitude. Gratitude builds joy and builds happiness. And when we build happiness, we're not looking for another person to make us happy. So a lot of the attachment stuff comes from abandoning ourselves and looking for someone else to make us happy. That's also the issue with being on our phones a lot. Like, I'm looking for something out there. I'm looking for something out there. So the more you can start looking for things in here. What do I need? What do I need to be happy? You know, what excites me? And focus back on yourself. Say that you're sad over someone. Okay, like what do I need from me? And sometimes it can be like, I want to play an instrument again. I want to paint again. I want to draw. I want to take a walk in the moonlight. If you didn't have any other people, or you didn't have a phone, like what would you be doing? Walking barefoot in the sand, feeling the grass under your feet. Like, what is it that you're really craving, that's your heart's craving? And what are the things that really make you happy? Because I think life just goes better if I see myself as the source of happiness and other people can just complement it or add to it. That's why I've been playing piano more, allowing myself to just enjoy sex more without guilt, like just really abandoning myself to it. And sexually, one of the things I've been working on is not thinking I had to like give the guys a lot of eye contact. It's like, okay, it's okay for me to close my eyes and just be in my body. Or those of you who've been in a relationship a long time, give yourselves permission to do some really fucking taboo thing. Just tell your wife, she's like, well, I don't want to. Use some like dirty words, or do some dirty things, or do some role play. Like, you got to break out. Vulnerability is about risking rejection. And that's it. I think I gave you guys a whole bunch of good nuggets there. Oh, and I want to say, I've had so many people tell me they like listening to my voice. And there was a gentleman in Switzerland who wrote to me this email that I'm going to read it to you guys. Hold on a second. Okay, so he goes, "Hey Sharzad, I just came from this area in Europe, my vacation. On the way home, my car broke down completely in a forest 200 miles from where I live. Why am I writing you this? Because in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the night, I find it extremely relaxing watching you and hearing your voice on YouTube. So thank you, Sharzad. Greetings." He signed his name. It's so sweet. Maybe I should do like some book readings or something from my book if you guys like my voice. So thank you so much.